Aloha, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing amazing. We're doing something a little different today. I have two live feeds going right now. I got you guys on Facebook right there, and then I have you guys on Instagram right over there. So you can kind of watch in either way that you want to. And it's so cool. A couple people have already joined in and started waving. Mitra, good to see you. Yeah, we're trying this over on Instagram as well. So we're kind of going live simultaneously. And, I'm here in Houston hanging out with my lady, Christina. We're having an amazing time. Just got back from Little Rock. We just got back from Little Rock, Arkansas. And it was our first time there. Beth, how you doing? So cool that you're logging in from Philly. Good to see you. It was our first time in Little Rock. It was actually my first time in Little Rock ever. And really loved it. Loved the people. Arkansas, just blown away by just how amazing the people are. Very down to earth, and reminds me a lot of the people from back home. And right, we almost got back to Kansas City. So close. I know, really close. Oh, aloha from Japan. So good to see you. Mari, very nice to see you. Thank you for logging in. And we have people logging in from all over the planet. We have people in Japan, we have people in Australia. I got students all over the world, and just absolutely amazing. And those of you that are a part of the community, just welcome. Thank you so much. And Mary, good to see you from San Diego. Mary, I know who you are. I'm going to be heading to San Diego in 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm going to be teaching a training in Carlsbad. But so cool. We get to go to Hilo next week. We're going to be at Mary Monarch. So actually the next live that I'm going to be doing with you guys is going to be from Hilo on the Big Island. And so looking forward to that. Well, let's jump in. I want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be discussing today. And, I've been doing my best to alternate in between NLP and Huna. Last week we did a little bit of NLP. This week, thought we'd do a little bit of Huna. And so there's two Hawaiian words that I want to share with you. The first one is alo, A-L-O. Alo means to face something. And then IMUA, I-M-U-A, is to move forward. So alo and IMUA. And when you refuse to face something, it festers and grows. And when you face something, you set it free and you're able to move forward freely. That's such an important concept. I want you to think about this again. When you refuse to face something, it festers, it grows, it becomes worse. When you choose to face something, you actually set it free. And that allows you to IMUA, to move forward on the path. It's two concepts that I wanted to talk about that come from the Hawaiian culture, not just from the Huna teachings. I hear my teacher, actually, sorry, those of you on Instagram, you can't see it. There's a picture right up over here above my left of my kumu. It's the two of us drumming. I think you can only see him in the picture, and that's Kumu Tua. He says all the time, in life, you have to alo. You have to face the things, even if you have fear of facing it. Come on, you guys. We've all had a moment where we're like, oh, I don't want to have that discussion. Tomorrow I'm doing a webinar, part 2, on difficult conversations, building on, parenting skills, the previous webinar that I did. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about is having to face it. When you hold it in, you make it worse in your head. That's why I say it festers. Because when you're holding on to it and you're like pushing it down and you're running in your mind the conversation, you actually make it worse. Let's just stop for a moment, right? I think Rachel's agreeing, right, on Facebook here. If you stop for a moment and think about a time in your life where you were like, I don't want to have that discussion, I don't want to talk about it, and then you actually go and have the discussion, more often than not, you're like, that was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Linda, right? You make it so much worse in your head. In the Hawaiian culture, an elder, I studied with elders when I was younger, and she would say, you need to be like the volcano. In Hawaii, the volcano has been pretty much erupting nonstop since the 80s. And sometimes tourists, when they come and they visit, they're like, aren't you worried about the fact that the volcano's erupting? And I said, no, as locals, we're more nervous when the volcano stops erupting, because then the pressure builds up inside, and what happens is a big boom. That's what happens when you don't face something. When you refuse to face something, you build it up inside, the pressure builds up, and by the time you do actually face it, it's more of an explosion than a discussion. It actually then can make matters worse. We want to avoid the explosions. So tomorrow on the webinar, I'm going to be talking about having that difficult conversation. And one of the things that I'm going to start off by saying is you got to be ready to face it. I remember I was going through a split up and I asked my dad, when is a good time to have a discussion? And he said, Matt, buddy, there's no good time for a breakup. There's no good day for firing someone. There's no good time to tell someone you got an issue, you have a problem. Except that day. The day where you know that it needs to be said, that day, that very first day is the best day because every day you add on after that just adds into the pressure. So Alo is to face. Now, if you've been to one of our practitioner trainings or a master prac, and I got a wide range of students on here, you know there are 4 things that you need to do to create change. The first one is let go of baggage. So I got to admit, it is easier to face something, to face a situation if you are free of baggage. So true, right? Mitra's agreeing with me. I love it. Mitra's one of our team members over on Instagram here. Thank you so much, Mitra. Mitra's getting married soon. So excited for you. I just absolutely love it. She's beaming, just absolutely glowing, right? It's so true. You got to let go of baggage. It is actually easier to let go of, to face something when you've let go of negative emotions. When you've let go of baggage, easier to face. So yes, check out our app. We got Ho'oponopono on there, the Hawaiian forgiveness process. I've written books on these release techniques. If you're fortunate enough to have been to Master Prac, then you know them. And there's no more excuses. There's no more excuses if you have the tools. If you don't have the tools, what then I want to share with you is an important thing that you can do is remember a time in the past where you have faced it and had a success with it, felt good about it, and realized that you actually were making it worse than before you faced it. Think of a time where you've had a success, where you've had an incredible experience of facing something down. And when you do that and face it, it then allows you to IMUA. So IMUA is to move forward. Now to bring these together, these 2 concepts, and talk a little bit about IMUA, once you face something, you don't just stop there. You don't bring up, here's an issue that I have. You want to then figure out, how do we move forward from this? How do we take the next step, whether it's together or apart? I've had to terminate employments with individuals. I've been running the business now since 1997. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. You don't look forward to it, even if you believe the person deserved it. And there was a team member, this is about 6 years ago now, I think, that I had to let go. And just wasn't working out. Values weren't aligned. Good person, like good positive person, and it needed to be done. So I faced it. I wanted to make sure that she had closure. So I got on the call with her and I said, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for everything. I wasn't comfortable with letting her go. And then I had to share with her, we're done. Our paths are done and I wish you the best. And she said, well, can't you just tell me where did I screw up? And I said, I have a policy that I learned from my dad. I don't kick people in the ass on the way out the door. If they're already leaving, if they're already having to move on in that extreme case, what's the point in giving them any negativity at that point? I shared positive, I shared gratitude, and then I had to IMUA. I had to move forward and let it go. Sometimes I've had to make decisions where I've second guessed myself and I have to look back at it and go, I followed my heart, I trusted my gut, and I moved forward without them. Now that's extreme examples. There are also times where you want to IMUA hand in hand with the person. My son, I love that boy so much. He's turning 23 this summer. And, I love hanging out with him. We just got to spend time with him. Christine and I got to hang out with him in Huna on the Big Island. And we had such an incredible time. And there have been times where things were bumpy with him. Total transparency. There have been times where things were a little bit rocky with him. And I remember in the teenage years, we had a little bit of a go at it and push back on me. I pushed back on him. And afterwards, we did Ho'oponopono. We let go of our baggage. The next morning, we wake up and we face it. All right, what happened last night? It sucked. We want to avoid repeating that again. Let's face it together, though. Let's face it. Let's take a look at it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss what caused it to happen, not to beat the shit out of each other, to figure out how do we avoid it, right? So the Hawaiians believed in the lessons. We go through things in life because we want to get a lesson out of it, not bring it up over and over again. So when Ethan and I had that situation occur, And there were a bunch of them. Truth be told, he was a teenager, right? There were a bunch of them. In the next morning, we faced it. Let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about what caused it. Let's talk about what we can do in the future to avoid it, because we love each other and we want to be with each other on this path for as long as we possibly can in a healthy, happy, loving way. And so we face not just what happened, we face what do we do? And then we move forward with it. Then we move forward with it together, in unity, so that we are then on the same page. So the next time even close to a situation comes around, and it was during a difficult discussion where he said some words that I didn't want to hear, I said some words that he didn't want to hear. Now we set up a pre-frame. Are you in a good space for this discussion? No, I'm not. Awesome. Let's talk about it later. Yes, I am. Fantastic. Now we set up pre-frames to avoid what we've done in the past, right? If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you haven't gotten the lesson. You keep having the argument with your teenager, with your partner, you haven't gotten the lesson. You haven't faced what's happened. You haven't faced what is the solution. So then you can IMUA with the solution, move forward with it, and then put that into action in the path. All right. Well, I hope that helped. I hope it was fun or at least inspirational. Either one is good. And again, I have a webinar going on tomorrow night on difficult conversations. I know it says for parenting, and yet it applies to so many people. It applies to couples. It applies to all the different things that you can think of, right? So I want to thank you all for being on both Facebook and on Instagram. And we're going to be doing our best to do this from now into the future so that we can respect both platforms, kind of like doing a parts integration. Part of me want to be on Facebook, part of me want to be on Instagram. We integrated it, now on both. Alrighty. Have a wonderful time. Aloha, ahui ho. Class dismissed. Love you all. Bye-bye.